Boo! Hello my little ghosts and ghouls, and welcome to my creepy craft cellar. My name's Jude and I'll be leading you through some Halloween crafts. So you should have a goodie bag, and inside your goodie bag there will be some white tissue paper, some paper plates, some thick black paper, some see-through balloons, a roll of sellotape, some very see-through fishing line, but don't worry, we're not going fishing, and some coloured tissue paper. And what are we going to make with this? I'll show you. We are going to make a puppet. So this is worn on your hand, and it's going to have two different faces. And the other thing we're going to make are floating ghosts. Also, in this pack will be instructions for some other activities to do at home, using just toilet rolls and things you've got around the house. Okay, are you ready to start? These ghosts are so easy to make, and if you use a torch, look, you can light them up. So we're going to make one now. I'm going to do it step by step with you, but do it as a family and give them their own personalities. Mine's got a bit of a wibbly wobbly face, but you might want to add a little bow or a moustache or some eyelashes. So have some fun and maybe make one of everybody in the family. For this, we're going to need a big sheet of white tissue paper, the balloon, pair of scissors, the see-through fishing line, so just be careful because it's quite invisible, and a felt tip pen. Let's start with the balloon. So these aren't very big balloons, so don't blow them too big because they will pop, okay? And a good tip, always stretch your balloons before you start. As you can see, they're only dinky, and then you're going to tie a knot in the bottom there. Put that to one side, and then get your tissue paper. So it's this size tissue paper you want to use, the big one, and we are going to fold it in half. So we folded it in half, and then we're going to fold it in half again. So you end up with that size. Now, we now need to snip the corner off. Okay, the corner we're going to snip off is not the side where you can see the separate bits of paper. It's on the other side, and it's in the fold there. So that bit there, because when we snip that, and it doesn't have to be very big, we'll end up with the hole right in the middle of our paper. So fold that back. So the other side, so opposite our little snip here, we're going to do a wiggly line. That's the edge of your ghost, so the sort of the bottom of the material. You might want to draw it in pencil first. I'm just going to freestyle. And it could be wobbly, it could be raggy. It depends what kind of personality your ghost has got. So my little snip in the corner and my wobbly line there. Next, take your balloon and tie your invisible thread to the end. Now this is plastic, so be really careful with little fingers. It might be a good idea to have grown-ups do this bit. And we use fishing line because it's invisible, and that gives it an even more ghosty effect when it's hung up. Maybe give it 2 or 3 knots because it does comes undone quite easily. So now we've got our balloon. This is the body of our ghost. That's why we've used a transparent balloon to make it more see-through. And now we're going to draw our face. So on our piece of paper somewhere, near the sort of the middle, because that's the top of the ghost, we need to draw ourselves a face. What's this one going to look like? Let's have a look. So this one's going to have some big eyes. might give mine some eyelashes. So we've got a spooky face, and we're going to very gently now crush our paper up. Ever so gently. It's not very strong tissue, but we want to give it that sort of crushed, scrunchy look. And then very, very carefully unwrap it. Take your balloon, find the end of your thread and stick it through the hole. And just mould it a little bit around your balloon. And there you have your wandering ghost. So you could tie these outside, they could blow around in the wind, or you could have them in the house. And if you've got torches or lights, you'll be able to give them a bit of illumination as well. Ooh. So our next activity is the puppet. So before you even start drawing, have a really good think about the kind of character you want. This one is a pumpkin, so I've got a kind of slightly scared pumpkin and then a happy pumpkin. Your character might be quite scary, but they could just be silly as well, or a combination of both. So have a little think before you start. To make your spooky puppet, we're going to use our paper plates. So each puppet has got 2 plates. In your bag as well will be these sticky pads. We're going to need those. Ooh. Thick black paper. The coloured tissue paper and the sellotape. So as well as the paper plates and tissue paper, you're also going to need to gather up coloured pencils, felts, paints. These are the things we're going to use to create our face with. The faces are made on our paper plates. We're going to do that not on the front where you would put food, but on the back. So 2 faces and the same character. So they could be laughing on one side, they could be spooky on the other. So when you turn your puppet, you'll have 2 different expressions. I'm going to use paint to make mine. So I need to think about what kind of face I'm going to do and how I'm going to change it. So I've started with some eyes. They're going in slightly different directions, and the mouths are doing different things as well. And eyebrows are really good to give you expression, so give them different shaped eyebrows. So I'm sort of going for a happy, sad monster here. I'm going to use my paints to colour it in. So we've got our 2 faces. It might be easier if you do them both at the same time. So you can go from one to the other and then they'll be really similar. If you've painted them, set them aside to dry. If you just use felt and pencil, you can move on to this next stage straight away. Now is the time to put them together. So we're going to turn one of our faces over. And using your sticky pads, so these are double-sided sticky pads, and they need to be separated. So we're just going to cut along the crease, and we're going to need 3 pads. So 1, 2, 3. Pop the others back in your bag because you might be able to use them again. Now this takes a little bit of working out. So we need to know what's the top of our face. So just give yourself a little mark there. So you know that's the top of the face. So we need to imagine now that our plate is a clock. So we're going to put a sticker at the top at 12 o'clock and then one at 4 o'clock and one at 8 o'clock. So you might, just to make it easier for yourself, you might just want to put a cross down the middle. That might be easier to visualise the clock then. So we're going to take the backing off. So you take just one side for now. Stick that at the top at 12 o'clock. And then imagine you're going round the clock. And then we're going to put one here and one here. Now this gap at the bottom, that's where the hand is going to sort of come in. So depending on the size of your hand, so if you're little, if you're a child, that'll fit. If the grown-ups are getting involved, you might just want to move those up a little bit because that's the sort of the space the hand's going to go in. Pop your other plate over and mark the top of that one as well, just so you know where you're working. There we go. And this is where we add hair and our clothes. So this witchy is going to have some spiky hair. And for that, we've got our tissue papers. And you could also use things from around the house. So I've just got a bit of a bin bag as well. Clean, obviously. So you could cut up bits of bin bag, tissue paper, and then we're going to stick that around the top. So when we're doing this, we don't want to cover our sticky pad because that's going to be stuck to the other plate. So we're going to work around it. So I'm going to give myself some tufts of hair. So I've just folded that up and then I'm going to cut down, not all the way to the bottom, but just to give me some sticky up hair. And then you can use your sellotape to stick it down with. So that's going to go in there. Use plenty of sellotape so it's nice and secure. But like I say, be careful not to go over that pad because you can see now we've got some hair. And you can use multicoloured bits of tissue paper, or if you've got some pipe cleaners at home or some nice ribbon. So our character's got hair now. The next stage is to create the body. We're going to use our coloured tissue papers for that. And I've also used some bits of black bin liner as well. But if you've got ribbon or other papers you want to use, please use those as well. We're going to stick them at the bottom of our face. So between our two pads here, and we don't want to cover those, just like the top. And we're going to sellotape those on. Nice and secure. So you want to cover up all the ends because this is where your hand is going to go in. So your hand goes at the bottom of your puppet, like that. So if you've got a little hand, that space is probably perfect. If you are an adult, you might want to move your pads a little bit, but the body is coming out between the two pads. And then we'll add a little bit of spooky black as well. So we put half on one side and then half on the other. The next stage is to press them together. So we take the backing off our little double-sided pads and then very carefully line up our faces and then press them together. So you're going to give those a really good squish. If you want your character to have a hat, use your thicker paper, fold it and then cut 2 at the same time. So my witch needs a witch's hat. So I'm going to cut out 2 at a time. So now I've got 2 hats, because then you have one for the back and one for the front, and then you'll be able to tape those on. You can use your sellotape for this, or another sticky pad. So you've got one on one side, flip it over, make sure you line your hat up. So now we've got our puppet. And there should be a little gap in there now for you to put your hand. So you're going to go in between the paper and the plastic, and then you've got yourself a puppet. And if everybody in the family makes them, you'll be able to put on a Halloween show. For these next 2 activities, you need to go and find your toilet rolls. The more the merrier. If you haven't got toilet rolls, the inside of kitchen rolls. If you haven't got those, you can just create your own tubes out of cardboard. Okay, we are going to make some little bats. So we'll need black paper, toilet roll, scissors, pencil, possibly a marker pen. Your colours, so you can use your coloured pencils, felts, I'm going to use paint, and your roll of sellotape. So we're going to take our tube, and then we're going to press one side in, and then press the other side in. And that will give us our bat ears. Now we're going to make some little bats, but you could turn this shape into an owl. So you could have a little owl face with wings, or we could even go for a witch's cat. And in that case, you would add a tail and some paws. But today we're going to make a bat. Got our body. Now bats have got often brown bodies, but I'm going to paint this one up. So here's my bat. He's quite cute, really. I'm going to set him aside to dry because I've used paint, but obviously if you've used felts or pencils, you can crack on with the next bit. So a bat isn't a bat without bat wings. We're going to use our thicker black paper for this. Measure a length of paper that would fit behind him. So decide if you want big, wide wings or little thin ones. Take your piece of card and fold it in half. And then from this folded bit, we're going to draw half a pair of wings. So go up, and then we're going to have the little sort of zigzaggy bits at the bottom there. Don't make it too thin here though. You want enough paper to be able to stick. And then we'll cut these out at the same time. Keep your paper folded so you can cut out the 2 shapes at the same time, and they'll stay connected then. So if you make lots of these, play around with what kind of bat wing shape they might have, give them different personalities. So now when we open it, we've got our bat wings, and all we need to do next is pop them on the back of our bat, and we can use our sellotape for that. All we're going to do is decide where we want them, high or low, and then stick them on the back. And there we have our little bat. And like I said, you can use this shape and maybe look at making owls or cats or anything else really with pointy ears. Really, really simple. Another activity with your toilet rolls is to create a set of Halloween projections. The more toilet rolls you can find, the more projections you can create. In the theatre, they're called gobos. So these different shapes have a light shone through them and they get projected onto the stage or the wall or a building. So we're making a set of gobos. You're going to need the torch, toilet rolls and cling film. We're going to cut our toilet rolls in half. Now, obviously they're squashy, so you have to be a bit careful. This might be a good idea to have an adult help. Before you start cutting your toilet roll, just make a little hole in it, okay? That makes it easier to get your scissors in and to go round. Before you start, you might want to draw a line if it makes it easier for you. So now we've got 2 halves. Next, we're going to need some cling film. Now, cling film is funny stuff, isn't it? It's not easy to cut, but do your best. And just take your time. So I'm laying mine out flat. And then we need to cut enough to cover the top of our toilet roll and also to go down the sides because we need to grab it with an elastic band. So you don't want it to be too small. And just very carefully cut it in half. Take your toilet roll. Now, don't do it on the side that you've just cut. Do it on the other side because that'll be nice and smooth. You're going to pop your cling film over and you want it to be fairly tight, a bit like a drum skin. And then pop an elastic band around it. Just like that. And the same with the other one. Cling film on, and then you've got 2 there. Now you could also use, if you've got any, some coloured cellophanes. So you could put different colours on. So I might add a bit of green to this one to make it a bit more Halloweeny again. So to create the images on your gobo, you can use a combination of permanent marker pen or create some silhouettes using black paper. To get the right size, use a bit of your black paper and maybe just draw around it so you've got an idea of how big your piece needs to be. Because you don't want it to be too small that it's tiny, but also you don't want it to be too big that it goes off the edge. So I know now that my design needs to go into this circle. So I've created a little bit of a ghost and now I'm going to cut him out. So now I've got my little silhouette ghosty. Flatten him out, make sure he's nice and smooth, and then use Pritt stick or a glue stick to stick him into your circle. You could cut out spiders' webs, ghosts, pumpkins, anything you like. Play around with different types of material as well. You might want to use tissue paper as well as card. And if you've got a grown-up who can help, use a sharp knife to get some really nice little details in your picture as well. Another way of doing it is just to draw straight onto the cling film. That one there is a skull. So on this one, I'm going to do a moon and a star. So this is my set of gobos. We've got ghosts, skeletons, and just a spooky face. The next thing to do is try them with a torch behind them. Now, experiment with different lights and also how close you get to the back of your projection. So you might need to move your torch in and out to get the best effect. I hope you've enjoyed this creepy craft session. Have a lovely Halloween look after each other, stay safe.